Hello, all everyone, Anya, Vidhi, and all of you. I hope you are able to enjoy the classes which are going on. And this time we are coming with another important part of the matter is matter pure in our everyday life. This is the last topic in this. We already told you that most of the substances in our everyday life are mixtures. They are not pure substances. The milk is a mixture, sea water is a mixture, the soils in the earth, they are mixtures. And in your homes, most of the things which you are eating, juices and other aerated drinks, pure, they are not pure substances. They are all either homogeneous or heterogeneous solutions. We have told you mixtures, homogeneous or heterogeneous mixtures. Here you can see that what we are going to tell you that what are the pure substances. We started with that everything around us is matter. What I'm saying that everything which occupies mass, which has mass and occupies volume is matter. Now this matter is available in three states. Is available in three states which we experience in our everyday life: solid, liquid, or gas. So matter is available either in solid form or in liquid form or in gas form. You know, most of the substances in we experience on earth, largest amount solids. Most of the metals, you know, solids. Liquids are also less, and about 11 gases are known, like oxygen, nitrogen, hydrogen, some inert gases. Now in this we are dividing this matter into two categories now: pure substances and mixtures. We are dividing the matter into two things: pure substances. And I told you, and you have learned in the classes, that pure substances can either be elements or compounds. So when I will say pure substances, what is the meaning of that? You already know. When I talk of pure substances, when I am talking of pure substances are pure substances are nothing, either they will be elements or they will be compounds, or they will be compounds. So pure substances are either elements or compounds. This we already know. Here we have shown you elements. What is an element? We have given you the definition of the element, that elements cannot be broken down to simpler substances. We told you in the definition of the elements, when I talked about the elements, what we said very clearly, that this is the simplest possible particle which exists, and we cannot break it further into simpler substances. As in the periodic table, we have given the list of about 118 elements. 92 elements are known out of this, man synthesized, other not so stable. And what we said: carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen. So elements, when we have shown you the elements, what we have shown you about the elements, that these are, we have shown you carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, like all this. We have shown these are elements. And then we told you compounds. As we give here example: copper, oxygen, iron, hydrogen, mercury. Copper, oxygen, iron, these are all elements. If I put a piece of copper here, I say that this is copper. Inside this, there are only copper atoms, copper atoms, copper atoms. All these are copper atoms. Nothing more than that. So they are single component, single constituent particles, single constituent particle. All are copper atoms in this. So we are saying here copper, oxygen. Oxygen, you know, is existing in the form of O2. Oxygen does not exist as O, but it exists as O2 gas in the atmosphere. You know about this oxygen gas. And you are aware of the hydrogen gas. You are aware Mercury, Hg. You know, mercury exists in the liquid form. Liquid form, we know about this. And when I talk of compounds, we already know what is a compound. Compounds have fixed composition. What is a compound? Compound has fixed composition, can be broken down to elements by chemical or electrochemical reactions. Compound, you know, when I say compound is formed like H2O, NH3, you are saying CO2. These are all compounds. There are so many compounds. Now in these compounds, what we are saying, the composition, what composition of this is fixed by mass. You always have in water 2 atoms of hydrogen, 1 atom of oxygen, or 2 grams of hydrogen. If I consider two, ratio of the masses is 2:16, 2:16, 1:8 by mass, 1:8 by mass. Similarly, in every compound, they are combined in a fixed mass ratio, fixed mass ratio. They have a fixed mass ratio. They have a fixed mass ratio. So here what we find, their ratio is fixed by mass. And only by chemical means, only by chemical or electrochemical means, for example, we can break them into constituent particles, not by the physical methods, not by the physical methods. When I say water is a compound, here we have given methane is a compound. Methane, what is the formula of methane? CH4. Methane is CH4. The sugar which you are eating at home is C12H22O11. This is the sugar which you are eating. This is the formula of the sugar. Salt, you are eating the salt, NaCl. NaCl. Now these are pure substances. Either they will be elements or they will be compounds. And there is only one constituent particle or only one component. But when we come to the mixtures, what we find, mixtures are prepared if you have two or more substances. You mix two or more substances, they will form mixtures. But there are two types of mixtures which we studied: homogeneous, which have uniform composition. Homogeneous are those which have uniform composition. You already know about this, that when I talk of a homogeneous mixtures are those which have uniform composition. They have uniform composition. For example, if I will dissolve NaCl in water, if I will dissolve NaCl in water, what will you get? You dissolve salt in water or sugar in water. You will get a homogeneous solution. You will get a clear solution which is homogeneous. Similarly, sulfur dissolves in carbon disulfide. Carbon disulfide is a liquid, is a solvent. So it will dissolve. If I put water in alcohol, then also they dissolve. They are miscible with each other. Water dissolves in alcohol and they form a uniform composition which is a homogeneous solution. And then we have told you the second type of the solution which we are talking is heterogeneous solutions. Heterogeneous solutions, we have told you, this is one form, this is another type. In the heterogeneous, you can see these are non-uniform composition. The composition is non-uniform composition. For example, you take sand, you put in sand salt, you put in sand sugar, you put in sand some iron pieces. So what is it? It is a mixture, but this mixture is heterogeneous. The composition is not uniform throughout, and we can easily separate these components. They can be seen. So sand, salt, sugar and salt, wood is a heterogeneous mixture. Your blood is also a heterogeneous mixture. Water in oil, etc. They are all examples of the heterogeneous mixtures. So what we have here basically, that the types of the substances we have told you, we are dividing pure and mixtures, pure substances and mixtures only. So pure substances are very limited. Either they will be elements or compound. Rest are all mixtures, and mixtures we are talking of two types of mixtures: homogeneous and heterogeneous. Both the definitions are clear to us because questions will be asked on these. Okay. Now further, what we are trying to show that here what we have shown that, let me make it more visible to you when I get the, this is my this is my full screen. And so what do you find that we have told you the elements, we have told you about the compounds, we have told you about the compounds, elements, and now in the elements, we can divide the elements in chemistry, in science, in three things. You are saying that we have elements in the periodic table. In the periodic table, what do you see? Elements. And as you will see, about 118 elements have been listed. How many elements have been listed in periodic table? If you will see the periodic table, in the periodic table, I'm saying. Periodic table gives a list of the elements. Now, there are three, the elements can be divided into three types: metals, non-metals, metals, there are metals, there are non-metals, and there are metalloids. Largest amount of metals we have, as we will see. How will you say that? You are saying copper is a metal, silver is a metal, gold is a metal, sodium is a metal. On the left hand side of the periodic table, you will see elements, magnesium, calcium, we are saying they are metals. And on the right hand side, you are saying carbon is a non-metal, oxygen is a non-metal, nitrogen is a non-metal, sulfur is a non-metal, some of the examples. And for example, we are saying silicon, boron, they are metalloids. Now, how will we say that something is metal, non-metal, or a metalloid? So we have to decide the metal, non-metals, or metalloids on the basis of the properties which we have. So we must know what are the properties, what are the properties of the metals, what are the properties of the non-metals, and what are the properties of the metalloids. Metalloids are something which have a property in between metals and non-metals. You are familiar with it. It is not a new thing for you. If you take gold, you know, it has a very good luster, very good shining. Silver has a very good shining, very good luster. So these metals, when we talk, here are some of the properties which are shown. So in chemistry, you know, we are studying the composition of the matter. We are studying the properties of the matter. What are the properties? Metals have luster. First property, you see, metals have a luster. All the metals, they have luster. You see shining property of silver, gold, copper, they are having a very good luster. Golden or yellow, silver gray or golden or yellow color. Gold, you know, is yellow in color. And important point about them is they conduct heat and electricity. As you can see, very important property of metals. Metals conduct heat and electricity. Most of the utensils you are using at home are made up of metals. Even you know iron utensils you are using for heating purpose because they are good conductors of heat. Iron is a good conductor of heat. So what will happen? That iron, if you have an iron vessel and you heat it, you know, what will be the result? It is a good conductor. It absorbs good amount of heat, so we can cook our things. Most of the time you will see alloys are being used in your kitchen to make tea or other type of things which you are using. And electricity, they are good conductors of electricity, means they will allow the electric current to flow through them. So if I take copper, what happens? Copper is a good conductor of electricity. Copper wire, is being used in your homes. Copper wiring, copper wiring. Important point, they are malleable and ductile. Malleable and ductile. What is the meaning of malleable? You know, metals are malleable, malleable and ductile. And we saying metals are malleable and ductile. What is the meaning of malleable and ductile? Sheets. You can prepare sheets of the out of the metal. These are very, very important properties. You know, so much application is there of the sheets, iron sheets, aluminum sheets. You know, you are using at building, in the building materials. In the metro also, you see a lot of sheets are being used in making the bodies of anything, because they are malleable. They can be beaten into and hammered into thin sheets. And ductile means you can make wires out of them. Gold is the most malleable metal, and you can make very long wire out of the gold. Gold is highly malleable and ductile. Most malleable, ductile. Ductile means you can make long wires. Gold is very ductile. You can make very long wires out of the gold. And fourth, he says they are sonorous, make a ringing sound when you hit. You have seen the school bells being made of the metals, because they're, when you hit them, when you hit the bell, what happens? Ringing sound comes. Ringing sound comes. So what we call as they are sonorous. Sonorous means they will give a good sound. Sound is observed, sound will be listened when you hit the metals. So these are some of the properties on the basis of which we are saying these substances are metals. Gold, you are saying silver, copper, iron, sodium, potassium, these are all metals. They have these properties which we have told you. So we are trying to classify the elements into now three forms. We are saying elements can be metals, elements can be non-metals, or elements can be metalloids. So the properties of the metals are listed here for you. Examples also we are giving. Now we are coming to the non-metals, and you have, I told you, hydrogen, oxygen, carbon. Carbon is present in the coal, in the coke, bromine, chlorine. They are all non-metals, and in the periodic table they are available on the right hand side. Right hand side. And what will be the properties of these non-metals? You will see that metals are usually soft, also malleable and ductile, whereas non-metals are not malleable, are not ductile, and they are poor conductors of heat and electricity. Non-metals, they are conductors of poor conductors of heat and electricity. Non-metals are poor conductors of heat and electricity. Now, if non-metals are poor conductors of heat and electricity, we cannot use them as conductors, most of this. And they display variety of colors. They are not lustrous. They are not sonorous nor malleable. So neither they are malleable. You cannot form sheets. They will break down. You cannot form sheets of the non-metals. You cannot form wires of the non-metals, and they will not make sonorous sound which is made by the metals, and they are not lustrous. So there are definite differences on the basis of which we are dividing the matter into elements, and elements in the three types of elements we are talking in our periodic table. In our nature, we have three types of elements. One, we will talk of metals, non-metals, and third one we are saying are metalloids. Now they have become important nowadays. For example, when I talk of metalloids, silicon, germanium, boron, they are examples of the metalloids. They are example of the metalloids. Usually they are used in semiconductor. They are used as semiconductors in electronic devices. They have found great application as semiconductors. You know, you have heard about Silicon Valley. That silicon is being used in your mobile phones and other silicon chips. It is a semiconductor. It is a semiconductor and it is greatly used in electronic industries. So they have properties in between these two, in between these two. Intermediate properties they are having. What we are saying, they are having intermediate properties. They are having intermediate properties. Their properties are in between them. They have intermediate properties. So we have three types of things: metals, non-metals, and metalloids. Metals, non-metal, metalloids. Their properties are intermediates. Their properties are intermediates between these two. As you can see, we have listed here, given examples of this. Non-metals, we have given hydrogen, oxygen, iodine, carbon. Carbon is present in coal, coke, even diamond and graphite have got carbon present in them. You know, diamond is the purest form of carbon. And diamond is the hardest substance known and the costliest substance. You know that diamond is very costly. And metalloids, boron, silicon, germanium, etc. are metalloids, which have properties in between the metals and non-metals. Okay, here is a comparison. Question was given, what is the difference between compound and mixture? Very important question will be there. What is the difference between compound and mixture? What is the difference between compound and mixture? This is a very important question. Here we have given the differences. You see, basis for comparison, meaning. Here, basis of comparison. First, what is the meaning of a compound? Again and again, we are telling you the definitions of a compound formed by combining two or more elements chemically. Hydrogen combines with oxygen chemically to form H2O. And it is not just mixing of two things. Hydrogen and oxygen gas, if I mix, that is not a compound. But here compound is being formed. For example, and mixture implies intermingling of two or more substances into one physically. For example, if I take iron and sulfur, I mix. This is a mixture. Now what do? You take a china dish, and in this you take a mixture of iron and sulfur, and you heat it. What you will do? Heat it. This is my wire goes. You heat it. I will heat it. If I heat it, heat iron and sulfur. After some time, you will see the color of the substance has changed. So what has happened? Iron has reacted with sulfur. Iron reacts with sulfur and you will get a new compound. You are getting a new compound. The properties of this are totally different from these two. Here you still have iron and sulfur mixture. That's all. And you can separate. You can separate it by using a magnet. Magnet will attract the iron. So iron and sulfur, they can be easily separated. They are not chemically combined. They have not chemically combined in a mixture. But here there is a chemical reaction. What is happening? There is a chemical. There is a chemical reaction. And you know what is a chemical reaction? When a chemical reaction takes place, a new compound is formed. A new compound is formed. This compound is formed. This is a compound chemically formed. So that is the thing difference between a compound and a mixture. This is a mixture. I have not heated I have not heated, they do not react. They do not react under these conditions. Here I have mixed and heated them after for some time, then a compound has been formed. Compound is homogeneous, mixtures are heterogeneous. How much amount you mix, different amounts can be mixed, different mixtures can be obtained. You put one gram of salt in water, or you put 2 grams of salt in water, the composition can be varied. Substance, compound is always pure, whereas mixture is impure. Mixture is impure because mixture has more than one component. So mixture is impure, compound is pure. So always we will see that mixture will be impure. Mixture is impure, compound is pure, always. And properties, when a compound is formed, constituents lose their original property, constituents keep their original property. For example, if you are saying hydrogen gas reacts with oxygen gas to form water. These are the constituents. This is a compound. Water is a compound. Now what do you find? The properties of the water. The properties of the water are totally different than hydrogen. This is a gas. This is a gas. This is a liquid. Hydrogen is flammable. It can catch fire. But water extinguishes fire. Water extinguishes fire. Properties are different. When a compound is formed, the constituents lose original properties. This is a gas, and you can say liquid. This is also a gas. Further, what is happening? New substance. New substance is formed in a compound, as you have seen. This is a new substance, new compound. These are the constituents. Separation by chemical or electrochemical method. We cannot separate water into hydrogen or oxygen by physical methods. Only we have shown you by passing electric current or some by chemical methods. It is possible to change water into hydrogen or oxygen. Another important property we always discuss in chemistry is the melting point. You know what is a melting point? Every substance has a melting point. The temperature at which the substance melts, the temperature at which the substance melts at the atmospheric pressure is called its melting point. And there is a definite value of the melting point if I have a pure compound. The pure compound will have a definite melting and a boiling point. Liquids have boiling points. We know that liquids boil. If I have a liquid, it will boil. These are solids. Solid will melt. Solid will melt to form a liquids. So what is the result of this? Solids have melting points. Liquids have boiling points. There is a melting point of the solid. There is a boiling point of the liquid. And you already know that at the melting point, temperature becomes constant till all the solid melts. Similarly, at boiling point also, the temperature becomes constant till all the liquid forms gas. So there is a definite value for compound. Compounds will have definite value of melting and boiling points. Which one? Compound. But mixtures do not have definite value because it's a mixture. This doesn't have a fixed melting point or a boiling point. It may melt over a range of temperature, So these are some of the differences. Between mixtures and compounds. Question has been given in exam many times. What are the differences between compounds and mixtures? So we have tried to give you these differences between compound and mixture. All right, coming the session for the questions now on this chapter. The chapter finishes. We have questions for you. We'll keep on discussing the question. They are important for exams. So both you can see on the board now questions coming for you which you have to answer. You can see first from here we are starting. Questions: which separation techniques will you apply for the separation of the following? So you have 2-3 minutes, then I will discuss the questions. This first you try these questions. You have to write the answers of these questions. We have few minutes for you to answer these questions. These are some of the important questions. They are going to be there in the exams. So we must know how to answer the questions. Question answers are very, very important. We must be able to answer the question in paper. We have a variety of questions for you. So you have few minutes before I discuss these questions. Okay, I am starting with this. Which separation technique will you apply for the separation of the following: sodium chloride from its solution in water? Okay, what is your answer? A. What is your answer for the A? Sodium chloride in water. Which method to be used for separation?
Evaporation.
Okay, right answer given. Evaporation. And you get 1 mark for that. All right. Next question: ammonium chloride from a mixture containing sodium chloride and ammonium chloride. You have NH4Cl and NaCl. How will you separate?
Sublimation.
Correct answer. 1 more mark given to you. Sublimation. All right. See, small pieces of metal in the engine oil of a car. You have a oil and in that we have a metal piece. How will you separate? Vidhi, which metal, which method? What do you have? Metal piece and oil. You have oil plus some metal piece. You can do the filtration. What is the problem? Because metal is a bigger thing. Okay. So what is the further? Different pigments from the extract of a flower petal. You know flowers petals. Now if you have flowers, why flowers are colored, you know, there are pigments in the flowers which are colored. You have seen red rose, you have seen yellow roses, you have seen different color roses even, and different flowers have different colors. But even in that color, na, you have different pigments, different compounds are there as we to colored compounds. So what is the answer for D? Different pigments. How will you separate?
Chromatography.
Very good answer given by Anya. You get another mark. Chromatograph. All right. So intelligent. You understood whatever I taught. This question answer shows that how much you have learned from me, and then they will be in the exam. You will be able to answer them very quickly, very quickly. Butter from curd. Vidhi, what is your answer? Butter from curd. This question given so many times in papers. How will you separate butter from curd?
Centrifugation.
Centrifugation. Okay, very good answer. Centrifugation. You know all the answers, so good about that. Centrifugation. Oil from water. Oil from water. This is the E part. Oil from water. How will you separate oil from water? You know about this answer. Oil and water. Are they miscible or immiscible? What is the answer for oil and
Sir, they can be separated by using the separating funnel.
very good answer, separating funnel. Correct answer. Another mark you get, separating funnel. You are so good. Such questions will be there in your exam. Separating funnel. Okay, tea leaves from tea. How will you separate? You have tea leaves and you have tea. If you are drinking tea, how you are separating them, you know so well. Which method? Give me the answer.
Sir, simple filtration could be used.
Yes, you are doing it every day at home. Filtration. Just now, after your class is over, I have another class. I will take a cup of tea before that. I will make tea for myself. Then I will filter it. Chanani, I will filter every day. I filter. Very good. Iron pins from sand. What is going to happen? You have iron pins and sand. How will we separate? What can I use for separation of iron pin and sand? Give me the answer.
Sir, magnets can be used.
Yes, magnetic separation. Very good. I will bring a magnet and separate the two. Our sessions are live sessions. You participate in that. If you have doubt, you can talk with me. And once it is recorded, you can pass it on to your friends. They can listen to it. As your sound is also there in YouTube. So iron pins and sand. Some light is gone out, but it has come. Okay. Now what is happening? The next question, wheat grains and husk. You know what is wheat grains and husk? Have you seen the grinding machines where they are selling the and grinding the in the wheat grain and husk? What will be the result of that? So here, when I have wheat grain and husk, you know what we are going to do? We are going to use sedimentation. Sedimentation method. Sedimentation will be used for this purpose.
Sir, can we also use winnowing?
Yes, that is also done. That is also done. So sedimentation can be used or winnowing can be done. And the last part, fine mud particles suspended in water. So if we have fine mud particles suspended in water, again, you know what is how we do that. You have water and what happens? There are suspended particles. So again, I will use sedimentation. I will, over a period of time, the particles will settle down. And once they settle down, I can decant the liquid. The liquid will be decanted once we have this. So what we do, we decant the liquid in such cases. The liquid is decanted. once we have this. Now, here we have the next question for you. Explain the following giving examples. Explain the following giving examples. Are you able to listen to me? Yes?
Yes, sir.
Because the light went out for a moment. Now, what we have, explain the following giving examples. He's saying first saturated solution, pure substance, colloid suspension, colloid and suspension. So we have few minutes for you to answer these questions before I discuss them. So you have few minutes to answer these questions. Explain saturated solution, pure substance, suspension, and colloids. We have to write the definitions of these. In exam, such questions will be there. You have to explain by giving examples a saturated solution. What is a saturated solution? You already know about the definition of a saturated solution. What is a pure substance, which we have already told you. What is a colloid? What is a suspension? Many times they give questions based on this. And they ask such questions in the examinations, where they are asking questions. Saturated solution, you know the definition, when no more substance can be dissolved. That is called a saturated solution in a given amount of the solvent at a given temperature. Pure substances, you already know which are pure substances, which have only one constituent particles, like elements, or which are pure, have only one component compounds. Elements and compounds are pure substances. Rest everything is a mixture. Then we talked about what are colloids. You already know that what colloids are: heterogeneous, which have a size particle range 1 to 1000 nanometer. And there are certain properties shown by the colloidal particles, like scattering of light, Tyndall effect. Uh, Examples, starch solution, gelatin solution, all these, they form colloids. Suspension, you already know that particles which are bigger in size, and they will settle down. Mud in water, sand in water, they form suspensions. The size of the particle is greater than 1000 nanometers. So we know the definitions. We have to write the definitions in the paper. Next is saying classify each of the following as homogeneous or heterogeneous mixtures. We have to classify each as homogeneous or heterogeneous mixtures. Now here you are given soda water, wood, air, soil, vinegar, filter tea. So you have 2 minutes to answer the question. You have 2 minutes to answer this question. लाइट चलेगी तो इसका पता नहीं कहाँ गया। What is the answer for this question? Classify each of the following as homogeneous or heterogeneous. Homogeneous or heterogeneous. Soda water.
Sir,
What is?
soda water, vinegar, and filtered tea are homogeneous, and
Yes.
wood, air, and soil are heterogeneous.
Okay. So you already know about this. Very good answer. You given that what you have. Soda water or all aerated drinks. You will see soda water or all your aerated drinks. All your aerated drinks which you are taking at home. Even juices. You know they are homogeneous solutions. They are homogeneous mixtures. I am saying homogeneous. They are homogeneous mixtures. Homogeneous mixtures. They are homogeneous mixtures. And soda water bottle, vinegar also, which you have from filtered tea. But wood, air, and soil, they are hetero. Wood. What about air? Air is also a mixture which we can say it has different gases present in it. So presently, it, if I take air, I will know how much oxygen, how much nitrogen, how much of the different gases are there. So the heterogeneous will be the wood and soil. In the soil, you have different components present in different amounts. Different component present in different amounts. How would you confirm that colorless liquid is a pure water? I give you a liquid and I say confirm whether it is a pure water or not. How will you confirm that it is a pure water? How will you confirm it is a pure water? What will you do? What experiment can you do to show that this colorless liquid is a pure water? I'm saying we have to do experiment to show that this is a pure water. How will we prove it is a pure water? Any answer? Any answer for this? What you can do, you can attempt an evaporation. You can take the water and heat it. What I can do, evaporation. I will take the water and heat it. What will be the result of that? If it is pure water, water will evaporate and there will be nothing left. Nothing left. But if water is not pure, what will happen? You will heat it. On after evaporation, what will happen? Something will be left behind. Some residue will be left behind. That will show that it is pure or impure water. Which of the following materials fall in the which of the following materials fall in the which of the following materials are falling in this category? Which of the following material fall in the category of pure? Pure. This question, Which of the following materials fall in the category of the pure substances? Ice, milk, iron, hydrochloric acid, calcium oxide, mercury, brick, wood, air. Which is pure?
Sir, ice, iron, hydrochloric acid, calcium oxide, and mercury are pure.
Okay. Rest are all mixtures. Rest are all mixtures. Very good answer. Very good answer given by both of you. Final question. This question is important for exam. Which of the following will show Tyndall effect? Tyndall effect. You are given solution which will show the Tyndall effect. You have 1 minute to answer the question. What is your answer? This question has been asked many times. Which will show the Tyndall effect? Will salt solution show the Tyndall effect? What is Tyndall effect? You already know. Scattering of light. Which particles show the scattering of light? You know about it. Only colloidal particles will show, or suspensions will show Tyndall effect. So will the salt solution show Tyndall effect? Yes or no? What is your answer? Which of the following will show Tyndall effect? What is the answer for this? You already know that what is our answer in this case. The answer is already known to us that milk is a colloidal solution. Milk will show Tyndall effect. Starch solution will also show the Tyndall effect. They are both milk and starch solution. Milk and starch solution. Both will show the Tyndall effect. Both will show Tyndall effect. Therefore, all the questions have been answered, and I will meet you in my next class, and we'll take some more questions, and we have a chapter coming for you, new chapter coming. Okay, we'll meet you in the next class.
Thank you, sir.